Hey guys, welcome back. This is Shanu at InnoKinetic, here today to talk to you about tire selection. We all know that the tires are what hold our cars to the ground. So selecting the right tire, particularly for your sports car and your lightweight sports car, is one of the most critical decisions that you could make. Because number one, you're going to burn through your tires and they need to be replaced. And two, making the right choice is going to have a significant impact on how your car performs and makes you feel the joy of driving. So today's video is really, we're hoping to address the things that you need to consider when you're choosing new shoes for your baby. So what prompted all of this? Well, a couple things. Frankly, tire supply has been really sketchy for Lotuses and these lightweight sports cars lately. This last year or two, it's been really tough. So we're hoping to shed some light on the things that you need to consider so that you can select the right tire. The second thing is that lately we've been getting a bunch of people calling us having troubles with their cars, and one in particular, gentleman who crashed his car. He spun it a couple times. Second time he hit something and he sent the car to us to repair it. Well, when we got that car in, we inspected the car and we saw the tires were nearly 20 years old. They were the original AD07s that probably came with the car. He bought the car used. It came that way. He was having a hell of a time wondering why this car just simply didn't handle the way he expected a Lotus to handle. So anyways, plus the alignment on that car was horrible. So it is very, very important that you consider what tires are on your car and make sure that they are the right tire. So how do you choose the right tire? Well, let's talk about some of the technical issues around tires. So a critical thing with tire sizes is the weight distribution of the car. So a mid-engine car has typically 40% of the weight at the front and 60% of the weight in the rear. Well, that is going to result in tires that have a split size. So in other words, the rear tire is going to be larger than the tire at the front. You know, there's a lot of people that have experience in 50-50 weight distribution cars like Miatas or BMWs. And in those cars, you can actually go with what's called a square setup by the enthusiast community. And that's where you have the same size tire at the front as you do in the rear. Well, that works because the weight distribution is the same front to rear. It won't work on a mid-engine car or a rear-engine car like like an Ariel Atom or a Porsche 911. So weight distribution is something very, very important for you to understand why they have these split sizes, right? So part of that, and not part of it, but a key part of that is that tires have what's considered an optimal temperature range, okay? And that's where the tire really starts to work, okay? When it's really cold out there, your performance tires are struggling, okay? So what you're trying to do is get enough load into the tire through weight, through your driving, to get those tires hot and warm enough to be able to exert enough grip, okay? So where does some of that come from? Well, let's talk about this chart that I've created. And in fact, I think I failed to mention earlier that I do have a blog entry that talks about tire selection, a couple different blogs. Let me put the address right here that you can go refer to and read at your leisure. And so anyhow, in one of those blogs, we have this chart that shows lateral force versus slip angle. So let's talk about that real quick. On this chart, you've got lateral force along the y-axis, and then you have slip angle along the x-axis, okay? So we've got two traces, one for tire A and one for tire B. These are theoretical tires, but the point is that they're showing a couple of different grip traces that show how a tire grips as the lateral force goes up, and then it gives up as the slip angle increases, which is, as you can see at the peak and where it drops off, is where you're starting to lose grip. Okay, it's interesting if you look at tire A, it actually has more grip than tire B, and when it starts to give up, it's a bit more gradual than tire B, which drops off more quickly. So the point of this chart is to give you guys a feel for how these kind of tires, how tires can behave, and if there are in fact differences from tire to tire. Okay, so related to this is size considerations. So I'm going to bring up a chart now that talks about size considerations. This size chart that I created shows various tire size options for a Lotus Elise or Exige. The first column showing the actual size, and then we've got sidewall, radius, diameter, circumference, and rim width. So for this discussion today, I really want to focus on the size column, which is the first column, and then the column that has diameter. In other words, the total tire diameter. Those are, I think, certainly the most important things and items I want to discuss today. So I have two of the sizes highlighted. Those are the stock sizes on a sport package equipped Lotus Elise or a Lotus Exige. The 195/50 ZR16 is the front tire, and the 225/45/17 is the rear tire. So what's critical here is the diameter. Overall diameter for the front is 23.7 inches, and the rear is at 25 inches. So when you are considering other tire sizes, what is really important for sure is that you consider the overall diameter. Don't deviate too far from the overall diameter from stock. Width can also prove to be a problem when it comes to rubbing, but as you're looking for alternative sizes, consider the diameter certainly as the most critical dimension to try to stay close to. In that case, I generally like to go a little bit smaller than larger, just again for clearance and rubbing related issues. And so when you're considering alternative sizes, have a look at the total diameter and choose ones that are maybe as close to stock or slightly smaller. Okay, so what do I recommend? Well, the tires that I tend to recommend tend to be soft ones, okay? Because I love driving, and so I'm willing to give up life for grip. So as you go with these R compound tires, you're gonna have a lot less life, but you get them in their optimal temperature range where you get the grip that you're looking for so you can have that fun around the corners, right? So the R compound tires that we put on these lightweight cars tend to be actually track day tires on much heavier cars. So if you're coming from the M3 world or the Corvette world, you're going to know about these R compound tires as simply track day tires. Well, in the case of lightweight sports cars, where it's a Lotus or an Ariel or even the Alpha 4Cs, these R compound tires are honestly the only way to go, in my opinion. Okay, so having said that, what sizes do I like? Well, I tend to like the factory sizes. You know, these ride and handling engineers have spent a considerable amount of time developing the correct sizes and compounds for their particular cars. Now, certainly there are some, most manufacturers, in fact, I would say all, typically deliver cars that understeer at the limit, right? Because that is the safest way to deliver a car for the general public. There's no way to know what skill set that people have who are buying your car, right? So understeer is far safer. You want to see what it is you're running into as opposed to spinning around and crashing in with the rear of your car, right? So having said that, there are things that can be done to your tire selection, wheel choices, suspension settings to make a car behave more neutrally, right? And that's a whole nother subject. But in the case of tire selection, I'm a big fan, say in the case of the Lotuses, the 195/50s at the front and 225/45s at the rear. I believe that's a great, balanced approach that works really, really well. And in particular, when you go with the R compound tires that they suggest, and which, well, there's a lot of good solutions out there. I'm a big fan of the Toyos R888Rs. I've been running the Yokohama A052s right now. They're really great as well. They're a bit more expensive than the Toyos, and I frankly can't detect a real difference on the street. So frankly, at this point of the game, is whatever you can get your hands on, because both models have been out of stock at certain points throughout the last couple of years. So what are the things not to do? Okay, well, first of all, I don't think you should ever mix tires from different manufacturers, front to rear or side to side. Okay, bad idea. Don't do it. Don't put Toyos at the front and Yokohamas at the rear, or vice versa, or on the side to side, right? Don't do that. And don't even mix models from one manufacturer. I'm not a believer in that on these type of lightweight handling sports cars, right? So don't put A048s from Yokohama at the front and A052s at the rear. Okay, I don't think that's a good idea either. What's the other thing that you should really consider that I think is really, really important? Watch out for the dates. When was your tire manufactured? Okay, the date code on the side of on your sidewall will tell you. If your tire is over 5 years old, I personally think you should get rid of it. I think you should jettison that tire, no matter if you still have plenty of tread left. You can see the wear bar on the car. Even if you haven't got to the wear bar, but your tire is over 5 years old, there's a good chance it is going to be too hard. You see, what happens over time is the durometer, or the hardness of the tire, goes up. And as the tire gets harder, the less grip it's going to have. So my suggestion to you is, if your tires are over 5 years old, get rid of them. Get a fresh set, and you'll be surprised at the compliance that you regain and how comfortable your car can be as well. So anyhow, thank you for watching. If you have any questions, you know how to reach us. Call us, email us, we will respond. We're here to answer your specific questions. I know this is a very, very broad subject, and a very difficult subject, frankly, to try to cover in a little video like ours. But I hope I answered a few questions for you guys and shed some light on the importance of tire selection. So thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.